Yeah, so I guess yesterday, one of the first callers was, you were talking about decision making and so forth. So I just kind of had a little bit of a question and maybe a comment on how I deal with it. But something you said earlier, I think ties into this. Determine the rational consideration of our nature. And when you're making a decision, obviously it involves being rational. So I guess one of the things I do, I'm an indecisive person. So to bring God into it, like let's say I got something with three options, and all of them have, and I kind of know, I even acknowledge God and say, I'm thinking of Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Acknowledge the Lord in all your ways, and He will make your path straight. And I'm not saying it in a superstitious way. Like I think even if you make a choice out of these three options, but just bring God into it when you finally are making a decision. And I'm not saying, okay, so it might be different when you're selecting a parking space, but I'm talking about like you're trying to decide what to do, what's the best way to go. So I guess in a sense, my question for you is that okay to be doing that as long as you're being rational, but just kind of in most decisions to kind of bring God into it? And I think that's the purpose of the verse. Is that Proverbs?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate the question. So clearly we should keep God in consideration at all times. We should be foremost in our minds at all times. But what does that mean, right? So to be united to God principally means that we are united to Him through charity and the virtues. So the way I'm in union with God is by seeking to have the mind of Christ and live in imitation of Christ's life according to charity and the virtues. So that nothing that I do should deflect me from the life of charity and the virtues, and anything that I do ought to move me more towards the life of charity and the virtues. But that doesn't help me decide which flavor of mustard to put on my hamburger. That's a general principle that should come into play at all times. When you get down into the sort of specific, concrete details of decision-making, sometimes the decisions we have are quite weighty, and it may not be obvious to you that one of these, conduces more to charity and the virtues than the other. And if that's the case, it may be the choice is in a different one, or it may be we don't have enough information. And so one of the principal component parts of prudent decision-making is docility, and that is the ability to take counsel, and seeking the counsel of wise people and older people and more experienced people, because somebody's done this decision before you or had a very similar one, and you can see the outcome in their lives and, judge by their character. So I've had to learn this the hard way. Man, have I had to learn this the hard way. As a young man, I always felt like if I couldn't figure it out on my own, that there was something wrong with me. And now I know there was something wrong with me for thinking I could figure it out on my own. And so, today when I have to make big decisions, I don't ever make them, or I should say ever, I generally don't make them without taking counsel from priests, from other experienced people, from counselors, from teachers, from scientific experts, and getting a wide array of input, and then trying to make the decision that it may not serve my self-aggrandizing, passionate interests, but would really seem to serve the development of my character and the common good.